Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Love of Fibers. I'm Liz. This is my first knitting podcast. We'll be covering all my knitting projects, sometimes a little crocheting, sometimes a little sewing. In today's episode, I just want to talk about a little bit of my knitting journey and the pieces that I've managed to make during that first year of knitting. So let's get into it. I started about a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago, because it was December of 2021. The first yarn that I bought was like the Brim Hat blanket, which was like soft and cozy, and I was like, okay, this is easy, I can make a blanket. I went ahead, I bought that, and I began simple knitting, and I created, this really beautiful fluffy blanket which I use all the time. From there I just continued, then made another blanket and then another blanket, and then I went ahead and back to Michael's. And I don't know if you're Michael's, but in my Michael, like the free little cards, the free little patterns. And I was like, okay, let me try to make like a garment or something else. And they had like this easy, they have them like, they rate them by levels, like easy, medium, harder. So I took like, and they have beginner. So I took beginner, and it was a cardigan. It has pockets, it has buttons, all this stuff. So I bought the yarn, basic acrylic, inexpensive yarn. And then I started with that pattern. That was, an adventure to read the pattern, to kind of decipher everything. It wasn't really that of a beginner pattern, how it was stated. I figured it out doing research online and created this cardigan. And I remember that along the way, I learned so much, and I took notes as I went doing it. But at the end, when I finished the cardigan, I didn't do pockets. I didn't want the pockets. I didn't do the buttons. I just did straight up cardigan. I wanted like, big oversized morning cardigan that I can wear in the morning. Every time I get up in the morning, I throw on like a sweatshirt or a big sweater or something, because the house is always cold. I'm up north. And at the end, when I was like reviewing on my notes and stuff, I was like, if I were to do this again, like I learned so much, all the things that I would change. And then I kind of was like, damn it, I wish I could go back, undo the sweater, and kind of put in all the little things that I kind of figured out along the way. But anyway, whatever, done. It's my first cardigan, first garment. There was so much going on, so much to learn. It was like, okay, let me try to find another pattern. It was a raglan sweater. I obviously didn't even have an idea what that was back then, but now I do. And I love them. But anyway, it was a raglan, a structure sweater, and it had the sleeves were the bubble stitch. I didn't use the yarn needed or asked for. At the beginning, you kind of wing it. You're kind of like, okay, this kind of might work. Ended up getting wool is thick and quick. I used it because it was bulky, and that's what it required. At the end now, going forward and knowing what I know, I'm like, okay, it wasn't bulky enough, it wasn't the right way, I didn't have the right needles, I didn't meet gauge. But obviously all these things come with experience. So back then I didn't know, so whatever. I just like took two big needles, and I took some yarn, and I, recreated the pattern. But the point is that regardless if I didn't meet gauge or anything like that, I created the garment, and it was beautiful. And the only thing is that, like, of course, now looking at the garment, I'm like, okay, the needles needed to be smaller, because so I could have like a beautiful stitch structure, which I didn't have. It was like wider and looser. The needles that I used were too big for the yarn weight that I had. So, it still worked, but it was too big. So the stitch draped and made it bigger than what it needed to be. That sweater needed to be a little bit like on the waistband, was on the hip. So anyway, but it was fun. It was an adventure. I learned a lot. It's machine washable. So it was fun. It was fine. Got more yarn, and I did 3 hats, 2 in like a nutmeg color, and another one in like a lilac color. And I tried to do like different styles and stitching on each one of them. And then I continued from there. I did another like raglan sweater, and that one I got perfect, like the gauge, the stitch definition, the length, everything perfect. Again, all these acrylic, and I think wool ease is like 80-20, so it's like 80 acrylic, 20 wool. And so it's really fluffy, it's really soft. Again, machine washable, very kind of like friendly for like when you're learning, when you're starting and you have no clue. And plus also very affordable because you never know if you're gonna enjoy the craft. So, and you kind of continue with it. And you know, my little techniques just grew and grew more and more, and I became kind of like obsessed with knitting, and I buy more. And then I would go to Joann's Fabric, go to Michael's, you know, get more yarn, you know, take the little free patterns, do more things, and visiting like yarn stores and researching more online, and started kind of discovering that knitting was like this huge community. And I was like, hello, where have I been? Under a rock or something? I found Ravelry, which I had no clue. And then I found Instagram community, and then of course more knitting inspiration. And that just kind of like completely overwhelmed me. There's so much beautiful garments and just designers and knitters. I started, you know, learning about these different designers and just different garment structure. And then I started learning about needles and quality of needles and yarn quality, and buying merino wool, which is like amazing. My God, I love alpaca. I got introduced into like the sock world and sock yarn. I have made two, well, one was a full set and that one created this beautiful colorway for the sock, and then ran out of two of the colors by the time I was gonna go do like the heel and gusset and all in the toes and all that good stuff. And so I, at that point, was, you know, yarn chicken, and I was like, okay, you know, whatever I have in my stash, I'm just gonna grab. And so, you know, I made the other sock. It's two crazy socks, but they're awesome, and they're wool, and they're really warm, and I love wearing them in the house and at night and to sleep in. My feet are always cool, so they're fantastic. Then I bought this really cool fun yarn and made this other sock, but that one I got total sock syndrome, and I only have one. I have to still make the other one. And my husband wanted a traditional Navajo chulo hat. Usually these are hats with ears, like ear flaps, and they're mostly seen used in South America, Peru, Bolivia, I think Chile and Argentina sometimes also. They're very colorful. You'll see in their design, they'll have like llamas, and basically they're color work. So I wanted to try my hand doing that. I know a little risky for my first year, but I figured let's go for it, nothing to lose. So I bought some wool, and he's not very adventurous with colors, so he wanted a traditional hat, but he wanted his favorite colors, which are black, gray. So I ended up doing black in 2 shades of gray. It came out really nice. The pattern that I couldn't find a pattern. So the pattern that I ended up finding, it wasn't very user friendly. It wasn't beginner friendly. It was a little bit of a hot mess, but I kept going at it, and I had to figure out like the size of the needle for the yarn that I used. I use a sport weight. He gets hot very easily, so I didn't want to do like a heavy wool, so I ended up doing like a sport weight wool. And I didn't want to do fingering because I didn't want to use a needle that was very small. I was doing black, and black is extremely hard to see the stitches. I ended up doing sport weight, and you know, like I said at the beginning, reading the chart was kind of difficult, and just kind of following along. But I pushed through it, and I managed to figure it out, and I created the hat. It came out gorgeous, really beautiful, soft. He enjoys it a lot. He wore it all winter. I had a lot of fun doing that color work piece, so I'm really looking forward to making another color work piece. My next piece that I want to do is a sweater, a top-down sweater. I have 2 in mind that I really like. One is from my favorite knitter, Katuba Kika, and another one, I don't remember the designer, but they're gorgeous. So that's something that I want to try working on for next fall. And so I'm excited about doing that. Color work is really fun. Like once you get it and you understand how to read the charts and everything, it's super fun. It's not that difficult to work with 2 colors. I did 3 colors for my first, which was kind of like a little intense, but I managed, and it was really fun. So I figured, you know, a sweater with 2 colors is gonna be even easier. Well, now that I made, I don't know, like 13 knitting projects from 2021 December to December of 2022, and then now in 2023 I have a lot of whips going on. In 2023 have finished maybe 3 projects and have like, I don't know, like 6 on my needles. There's so many patterns, so much beautiful yarn. not enough time, not enough hands. But if you're a knitter, you know, you got me. You totally know. There's no way you can just kind of like stick to one pattern in one fiber. Like, no. God, and the most exciting part is like casting on. It's like that excitement, you know, that rush to cast on, to start doing those first couple of rows on that project. So exciting. Like I said, a whole year of just kind of knitting and experimenting and learning and self-learner. And then this, you know, discovered like so many videos on YouTube to help me with like certain stitches or certain things that I was stuck in and that I didn't understand. So that was amazing. And so little by little, kind of, like I said, got to like learn about, you know, the Instagram community, the YouTube community, which I now have joined Instagram knitting community, and little by little have started like sharing content and stuff there and connecting with other knitters, which is fantastic. Because where I live, I don't really have a community of knitters. I don't have anybody. So it's like just me and my own little world. So it's really nice to like connect with others, even though if you're not near them, it's still kind of fun, and see what everybody's making and sharing. And then in YouTube, the same thing. And I've like started following YouTubers that are knitters, so much inspiration, so many beautiful patterns. I think every knitter that is like completely obsessed with knitting can relate to me, in the sense that you pretty much become obsessed with the craft. There's just no way around it. You are like, you go to sleep, you wake up, you're like, pretty much you get up with the drive to like, you can't wait to get to your project. You have all this excitement, all this creativity, all this information. You don't have anybody to share with. And so here I am. This is my first YouTube video. It's me just kind of like sharing first year my experience, where I started and where I'm at now. And just like I said, the excitement to just build community and find other beginners like myself and learn from others and get inspired and share. Well, I am super excited to be here and look forward to your comments. If you feel the same way as I do, are you starting your journey? So many questions as a new knitter. I started finally understanding what gauge is, actually swatching for gauge, and just like there's so many things, and having the proper notions to make knitting more enjoyable. Not that you can't do it without it, but it's fun. I feel that with knitting, you learn so very quickly. You start moving up so very quickly. Even though you're a beginner and you're starting, challenge yourself. There's certain patterns that might be difficult because you don't know the actual skills needed. You know, it's more advanced, or just try it. If it doesn't work, frog it, rip it back. Like, it's not that serious, and try again. And that's the only way to get better. That's the only way to learn. It's exciting. I've frogged so many projects. I've dropped so many stitches, and now I'm like, oh my God, that's so simple to fix. And I had no clue how to fix that. And just so many other things. Like I said, I have projects in progress. And I also completed some things in 2023, and I have like, you know, like 6 whips going on. Do another video to kind of show you what I have finished and what I'm working on going forward. I also love to sew. I am teaching myself how to sew. So I got a sewing machine, which I love, for Christmas, and just kind of teaching myself how to sew. And I created like my first project bag, which I'm so excited about it. Super cute. And I see many more in my future, and maybe some garments too. Why not? Let me know what you think, and also, you know, share if you're a new knitter, if you know your struggles. Believe me, I understand. I feel your pain. Whether you're enjoying it, if you have any questions, anything that I can, you know, share some light on, since I've kind of been through the same path, you know, feel free to ask questions. I'll read all your comments and answer anything that I can, and share any of my insights. Hope that you enjoy this video and enjoy spending this little bit of time with me. Thank you so much for your time. And again, I'm Liz from Love of Fibers. You can find me on Instagram under Love of Fibers, and here. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you stayed for the whole time, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Until next time.